Okay, I promised you a recorded example of how to do the average, the median, and the mode. So I went to the GSS and I grabbed two new variables out of the ones that I have. I grabbed age, which is the age of the respondent, and I grabbed con labor. So I can go to the variables tab and see that con labor is about confidence in organized labor. And I can look at the codes and I can see that the values are hardly any, only some, a great deal. And then there's a whole bunch of missing value codes. But it basically is a 3-level categorical variable. So I'm going to go back to my data and I am going to put each variable in its own spreadsheet to work on. That way I make sure that if I mess up, I don't mess up my original data. So I'm going to put age in this spreadsheet. I'm going to call this spreadsheet age. So I'm typing that at the bottom. And I'm going to create another spreadsheet that I'm going to call con labor. And I am going to go back to my original data and I'm going to copy that spreadsheet. Control C. And that goes in here. So now I am set up to figure out my frequency table and my mean, mode, and median as appropriate. So let's start with this con labor variable, confidence in organized labor. The first thing I want you guys to see is there's a lot of inapplicables, and I am looking to see ballot A. It looks like ballot A was not asked this question. So 2/3 of people got asked this question, but 1/3 of respondents, those who got ballot A, were not asked this question. That's why there are these missing values for inapplicable, and that's fine. It's just, that's why ballot is relevant. So we start by putting in a pivot table because that lets us see what our data looks like. So I'm going to do it in an existing sheet and I'm going to put my pivot table in C. I'll say, okay. And then I'm going to put my rows and I'm going to put my values, con labor. And I am going to make the missing values go away because they don't contribute any information. So I will make don't know go away, inapplicable go away, skipped go away. And that is all of the missing values. And now you can see some people have a great deal of confidence, some have hardly any, some have only some. Now, this is a case where these values are not in a logical order. So you're going to want to reorder them in your frequency table. A great deal is the highest value. The middle value is only some, and hardly any confidence is the lowest value. And this is confidence in organized labor, and this is count. And then I always put a little box around it. So I go up to the toolbar where the little box is, because then I feel like my data is nice and clean. And I give it a little more space so I can see what it says. So now you have a frequency table. The other thing you can compute in your frequency table is the percentages that each value represents. So a great deal is 297 of the 2,648 cases. And Google Sheets is going to help you with the rest of these. So I'm going to hit the check mark because I want it to give those to me. And then I want it to change it to a percentage up here on the toolbar. And I'm going to put those in my little box too. So this little borders, I give it borders because then I know what my table is. So this is my frequency table, and this frequency table is in a sensible, logical order. So if you look at this and you are being asked to compute the average, the median, and the mode is going to be the most common answer. And the most common answer is only some. So that is your mode. It is 1,655 of the respondents said only some. A great deal is much less common, as is hardly any. You cannot compute an average for this variable because this is a categorical variable. This is not applicable. You can only compute an average for numbers, and we'll look at a number variable in a minute. With median, you can actually figure out what the median of this variable is. It's a little bit tricky, but you're asking yourself where the median is the 50th percentile. Where does the exact middle person, if you put everyone in order of the answer they gave, where is the middle person out of 2,648 people? What's their answer? And you can actually look at your percentages, and it's going to tell you the answer to that question. The median is going to be, it's right in the center. The 50th percentile is going to be in this central 62.5% of respondents. So the median actually is only some. You can't use Google Sheets to compute this. You have to use your eyes and your brain to figure this out and figure out where that middle respondent is, the exact middle of the distribution of values. So these are the values you can compute. And then this is your frequency table. And this is what you would put in the template as you gather information about your variable. The last question I asked you was about how might you recode this? And what I would say here, I look at this and I would want to recode this. I would say, I would actually, a great deal of confidence and then some or not a great deal and not a great deal. So you can make this into a 2-level variable. I don't love this because we only have 297 cases and then we have about 2,400 cases, but it's okay. You would have a 2-level variable and you have some variance in it. So that would be a recoding strategy that you could put. And it is interesting to see how many people really are into organized labor and have confidence versus those who are a little iffy or don't have any confidence. That's a meaningful separation. So the second variable that I pulled for us is a numeric variable, and that is age. What is the age of the respondent? With numeric variables, the first thing you want to do is you want to check what Google Sheets says the format is. So you highlight the column and you go to this 1, 2, 3 on your toolbar and you click on it and it says automatic. You want to tell it, treat this as a number. So click on the word number. That's going to give you decimal points. You don't want decimal points. So you go 2 little boxes over from the 1, 2, 3, and you decrease the decimal places, make them go away. But now you have your variable is set up to that Google Sheets will recognize it as a number. It will put its values in numerical order, a sensible order, and it will be able to compute mean and median for you. So we're going to do our pivot table. We're going to insert our pivot table because we want to see the frequencies. We're going to put it in our existing sheet. I'll put it over here. And we're going to create that and we're going to put our rows in. And there's going to be a lot of rows. And we're going to put our values in. And what's going to be interesting about our values is they're going to be relatively evenly distributed across all ages. So I put the count in and you can see like all of these are just 2-digit numbers. They go all the way down to, well, the 89 or older, but they're relatively equally distributed. And that's because age in this kind of sample is relatively equally distributed. There are fewer young people There might be fewer elderly people because you start to lose, basically people die and they're not even available to be in the sample. But this is your frequency table. And you could do your, you don't need to reorder these because they're in proper order, but you could do the count that's of the value divided by the grand total, which is 4032. And I would have Google Sheets fill this in for me. So I would say, yes, thank you. And then I would take that column and I would make it percentages. And you can see that like everything is like 1 point something percent. It's very evenly distributed. This is a numeric variable, so you're going to compute the average or the mean. Average is what Google Sheets is going to call it. You're going to compute the median and you're going to compute the mode. The average, and when you compute the average, you compute on your original data. You want to include every single observation as you compute your average. So compute it on the original data, not on anything in the pivot table. So your average is going to be the average of A2 all the way down to the bottom cell. You guys have a little bar over here on the right, and you can drag that bar down really easily to see what your last cell is. And your last cell is 4033. Then you can drag your bar back up again. And you can finish this by saying A4033. And it's going to give you the average age in the sample is 52 years. So the average person, add all the years up and you divide it by the number of people in your sample, and the average age is 52 years. The median age is going to be the age at the 50th percentile, where half the people are younger and half the people are older. And that is going to be median A2 to A. It's guessing what I want, and it is guessing correctly. The median age, interesting, the median age is 53. So this is a pretty evenly distributed variable. When the average and the median are close together, it's a pretty evenly distributed variable. It's a normally distributed variable. The mode, this didn't work for me when I tried in class. I want to try it again. Mode and MULT. The reason you do MULT is if there's more than one mode, then you want to know all of them, not just the first one. And we're going to do A2, A4033. You could also eyeball this by looking for the largest number. Kind of hard to see with 70 values. So if Google Sheets will tell me this, I will be grateful. Ooh, the most common value is 67. That's interesting. I will tell you that when you have this many values, this evenly distributed, you can compute the mode, but it's not necessarily a super helpful thing to know. But now you can see the commands that give you each of these, and you always compute them off of your original variable. The last thing I would do is say, if you were looking at recoding this variable, I might do young adult 18 to 24. And that would be everyone up to the age of 24. And I can do a control C and a control V. And then I might do a working age adult. This is something that like the US Census, US government does. That would be 25 to 64. And I could do a control C, and then I'd go all the way, go pretty far down, all the way to 64, control V. And then I might do a senior, and that is 65 or older. And I would make everybody, let's see, I'm not going to do my missing values to recode them. Senior, control C, and then all the way down to all those values. And then 89 or older is also a senior. So I do control V. This would be my recoding plan. And I've just basically taken all these values of age and said, I would recode them into 3 groups so I could analyze them. I could do this with bind and replace, total pain in the neck. I could also do this with an if statement, and later I will write if statements for you guys if you decide you want to recode something like age, or you can give it a shot. Some of you have actually written some if statements. So there is 2 examples. I'm going to stop the video now, and I'm going to process this, and I'm going to put it out to the class in an email.